Kia ora koutou, welcome to Whiteboard Friday. This week we're looking at the issue, are we doing enough to save the New Zealand sea lion? Well, I can personally attest that these are fantastic creatures. We saw them face to face on the Our Far South trip back in 2012 where we went to the sub-Antarctic islands and got to interact with them. They're social, they're fun, they love charging at you, and if you're chicken and run away, they will chase you. Fantastic creatures, but unfortunately since 2010 they've been classed as nationally critical. That's the worst category of conservation status. And the Department of Conservation this week is consulting on their plan to bring back the population of New Zealand sea lions. But is it good enough? Let's take a look. Well, firstly, we don't actually know that much about the population of New Zealand sea lions. We only have some data from pup counts taken from the Auckland Islands, which is their major population base. Now, these pup counts are incredibly dangerous to do. These beaches are filled with mating sea lions. The men are fighting over the women. The babies are getting squashed by these fights. It's absolute carnage. But what we do know from the numbers is that from back in 1998, the population of pups each year has reduced from around about 3,000 down to roughly half of that, 1,500. And since then, they've been bubbling along at around about that level, 1,600, 1,700 per year. So we've seen this massive fall, which is why they have been classed as nationally critical. Why is this big fall taking place? Three major reasons. The first one, of course, is disease. The pups are very susceptible to disease. Climate change is an issue, the fact that that can change where their food sources are. And lastly, fishing. So Department of Conservation, as I said, is consulting on their plan to save the New Zealand sea lion. But their plan really, their objective really is to just keep numbers at around about the same level. Is that good enough, or do we want more? Do we want to return these wonderful creatures to their former population status? Before humans arrived, they were on beaches all over New Zealand. Wouldn't that be marvellous to have them back to that level? But of course, to achieve that would be a massive challenge, and the only thing that is really within our control is fishing. This is hugely controversial. There's no conclusive evidence on how much impact fishing has on sea lion numbers, but it could be potentially large. So of course the fishing industry doesn't want to make changes because that could impact their profit, and the conservationists want them to make changes to save the sea lion. But could we experiment perhaps? Could we set up some experiments, make some changes in fishing practices, try to use jigging instead of trawling, perhaps trawl in different areas where we know that these creatures are not feeding, and see what impact that has on populations. That's one possible way to solve this riddle of how much of an impact is fishing having on sea lion populations, and could we, by changing it, perhaps return these wonderful creatures to their former glory.